Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up.
This is your wake up call.
The way I dealt with the grief is I pretty much pushed everything down. Like I said, I was 16 or 17 years old. I was trying to focus on. In that moment, it was helpful to know what my mother would have wanted. Um, I know that I had to finish school. That was so important to her. I knew that college was. I really only knew that college could be next. I had my mother go to college, my sister go to college, my cousins go to college. I really just kind of always knew that that was next, and also that that was expected. So I feel like although I call it unhealthy, I I made it to where I created a life for myself, but it was based off of what my mother would have wanted. And then here I am, 25 to 30 years old, really lost in the world because I've done all these great things. I've succeeded in so many different ways, yet I'm so lost because I've lived a life that someone who is not here would have wanted me to live rather than living a life that was, what I created or God's plan that I followed. I do believe that it was within God's plan for me to stay focused and to accomplish all the great things that I, may have or may not have desired. But we all have a purpose that we have to fulfill, and we can never reach that by following anybody else's plans other than God. So I'm really grateful for the direction my mom gave me. But to best deal with grief and cope with grief is a really hard subject to advise on, but I can let you know that as long as you continue to search within and follow the higher power or spiritual connection that you have, then that's really going to be what elevates you through the hardest times of your life. Um, so, yeah. How did losing a loved one affect me? I believe it has much to do with the tie you have to the loved one that you've lost. For me, it affects me because uh, the one person which whom I lost, who I hold the most grief for, because I've lost many people in my life, but the most grief that I hold for would be my mother. And I was at an age where I was, transitioning into becoming a young lady at the age of 15, 16 years old. Losing my mother really impacted me because I never realized that she held so much direction for my life in the way I needed it to go. As a child, you're always looking for independence, and it's not to say that I was eager to become free from life. I was pretty chill as a young child, but once my mother left, just because of our family dynamic, it really felt as if I needed to figure out what was next for me, and not necessarily in life as far as college and all, although that time was coming, but not as far as college, but just as far as the day to day, because my dad was impacted so greatly in losing my mother as well. So I would have to say my day to day was mostly affected, as well as the outcome of any family when the rock of the family is the one to pass away, which that was for my situation. Triggers that I have for grief, it would have to be for me the holiday season. I lost my mother 2 days after Christmas, so the holiday season is a big trigger for me. Uh, Church is a big trigger for me. That's where we really spend most of our time as a family. That was the stronghold of our entire being. That's all that we really knew was religion, church, and how to become a hand for the community. How in any way to build up the community. So I really feel as though anything can trigger grief, and you can be triggered without even knowing it. Grief can come in many different ways throughout life. But I would have to say that for me, it's the holiday season. Of course, it depends on who you've lost. So Mother's Day was very hard for me. Then that kind of makes Father's Day hard for me because then not only are you having grief for the person that you've lost, but also you have grief over not knowing how to assist the other people that are impacted. So I really want to say an easy answer for this is birthdays, holidays, just any time spent where you would really spend that with the loved one that you've lost. Um, Church, going to church was very difficult for me. I really couldn't stay there because my mind would wander. Um, so yeah, I would say the most obvious places are the hardest, but really you really can't escape grief because even when you're just alone, that can also trigger grief because it's more the physicality of your reality of losing that loved one, and that's all your mind can sometimes focus on.
Wow, what another powerful story. If you haven't figured it out, Bonisha and Ronita, they're sisters. And so um, to hear the story of who they lost in their mother from two different perspectives is very interesting. Uh, I don't want to take away from anything or try to add to anything. I just let that sit out there. Bonisha, thank you for sharing your experience and your story. Stay tuned. We're still listening and eavesdropping on more conversations on Couple Joe After Hours.